Long time ago, there was a man whose fortune was so vast that all the dwarfs under any mountain could ever count it. But though he was a good man, time's passing and life changes left him widowed and dying, while his son was just barely in his teens. So this man called his son to him, gave him all his wealth, but made him promise one thing. Once he is ready to marry, he should let his father's most trusted friend find him the most suitable bride, the one God intended. When the time came for the son to marry, he kept that promise to his father, and the trusted friend set out to find a beautiful bride of finest character and spotless reputation. But he also devised a test to discover if that bride was God's intended. For, when the bride was brought to the groom's chambers, a heavy stone was to be placed outside the door that the groom would have to move. When such a bride was found, she was brought to his chambers, veiled and robed to conceal her appearance, and of course the heavy stone was put in place. So while the door could open, it would not open enough to admit the sun until the stone was moved aside. Told of her beauty, character, and reputation, the son hurried to see his intended bride. He peeked into the room, and inside was a lovely woman dressed in an elegant Tunisian gown, fouta and blouson. Her hair was braided and coiled around her head. She hummed a tune that seemed vaguely familiar as she lighted the candles. The gracefulness of her movements and straightness of her posture showed her good upbringing. Lighting the last candle, she turned toward him, and the sparkle of her eyes convinced him that this truly was a suitable companion for a man such as him. So he bent down and tried to push the stone aside in order to open the door, but it would not move even an inch. He tried and tried again, but the stone would not move. This was not the wife that God intended, and sadly the wedding preparations stopped. A few days later, another bride was found. She was reported to be beautiful, of fine character, and again, spotless reputation. Wedding preparations resumed. She was brought to his chambers as the first, veiled and robed, and again the stone was placed outside the door.
The son again went to see the new bride. Within the room was an exotic woman. Her hair was teased and tied with ribbons and jewels. She wore the silks of a dancer in the bazaar. The room was filled with candles and burning incense. She began to tap a rhythm with her foot, tiny bells on her ankle jingling. Then she began to hum a familiar tune as she danced the timeless dance of a woman before a man. As her flashing eyes met his, a passion filled his heart to make this woman his lover and bride. But first, he would have to move the stone. Yet again, it would not budge. It appeared that this was not the wife God intended either. A few weeks later, it was announced that a new suitable bride had been found and discreetly brought to his chambers, the door again blocked by a stone, allowing him to gaze inside the room but not to squeeze through. He approached his chambers hesitantly, eyeing the stubborn stone. He peeked inside to see a simple maiden from the village, dressed in peasant clothing, her long hair cascading onto her shoulders. A single candle was lit on the table beside her. She sat sewing on a quilt. As she worked, she began to sing a song so familiar from his childhood. He began to remember her, running through the fields of flowers, hand in hand, climbing trees, dreaming dreams. Truly, this was a friend who would be a suitable wife. He struggled with the stone, and once again it would not move. The song continued. Suddenly, he realized that the tune was the same tune the first woman had hummed and the second had danced to. In fact, all three were the same woman. She could be his companion, lover, and friend, if only the stone could be moved. He struggled, strained, grunted, pushed and pulled to no avail. Then a figure like a shadow slipped through the crack of the door opening. A soft, gentle voice spoke. "Let me help you move the stone." They put their hands together and it moved easily aside. The bells rang, the celebrations began. He had found the one that God intended, and she had found the husband that God intended as well. But neither knew that just finding the chosen one was not enough. They would learn that to establish their marriage and secure their happiness every day, they would again have to put their hands together and move the stones from the doorways of life.